Welcome to our Leader Speak series.
Hello, morning. Thanks a lot for having me. Really appreciate it.
So my first question will be, what are your important achievements? I know you have a lot of achievements in your career. So what is the important achievement in your career?
Yeah, so I think good question. I think for me, I think maybe I don't know where is the right to call it achievements, but I think a lot of times I think life's journey, and I think looking at different milestone or different inflection point, maybe I call it like different inflection point where we reflect and we go through, right? So I think that maybe if I will look back into my career, I think my first 6 years was sort of in, I would call it corporate, right? So I was in consulting and I was job straight. So there's a sort of phase one. And then after that, we went on the 2011, went on Groupon. So there's a sort of a scaling up from starting from a Malaysia role to eventually went on to on sub region and eventually APAC region. So that was during the 2011, 2015. And I think the 2015 to current 2021 is sort of building a startup journey, to our own company from KFit and then eventually Fave, acquiring Groupon subsidiaries in the process, and then eventually got acquired by Pine Labs 2 months ago. So I think now this being part of the large organizations, fast growing unicorn Pine Labs. So I think that sort of enter a new phase of career, learning how to value add and bringing the company towards that new milestone. So I think that may be how I look at it over the few periods.
Amazing, amazing. It's very impressive journey, from working from corporate and you starting your own journey and then acquiring the company. And it's very motivational for everyone, a journey. Great. Okay. Describe the most high pressure situation you have dealt with recently and how have you handled it?
Yeah, I would say COVID, right? I think that it is as we speak, I think COVID is still an impact for us, right? I think the last thing of last year when COVID last year March when COVID hit, basically our business basically tumbled, right? We serve offline that dine-in restaurants, offline retailers, beauty wellness, travels industry, tourist attractions and everything. And almost all of them were just suddenly overnight everything shut, right? So I think that that's definitely something, and if we think on it, almost none of us built our 2020 business planning with that in mind. And I think even in 2021, a lot of us was to build our business plan in December, early January, when things were looks like it's controlled in this region, and things suddenly spike up again, right? So I think there's a lot of aspects on that, and I think that during those lockdown where the whole business stumbled, and then last year was a very very tough year for us. We had to do pay cut. Myself was zero pay for quite a number of months. I think we have to do layoff and a lot of those hard decisions, right? So I think that's one of the aspects that we went through. But I think that we will really appreciate that. I think our team rise to the occasion with I think the one team plan where everyone took some hit. I think different income level hit differently, and we make it transparently to across all. And I think that going through that. And I think that is a learning journey. I think as we go through, I think what this COVID actually taught all of us is learning to be adaptable. I think all of us now are adaptable to how the SOP changes every couple of days and what the things that we need to go through. Yeah.
True. Yeah, you have mentioned just COVID, COVID realized everyone what are they good at, because we don't know that we are too flexible, working from home was not new normal previously. So now I think COVID has taught everyone, what is new normal, what you are good at. You can do work from home with kids at home, everything can be done.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, definitely. I think it adds a lot more uniqueness and complexity on that. And I think things that now we know if anything happens, we can basically clear through, and knowing that things may not be continuously built on and things may topple again and whatnot.
True. So true. Yeah. So now what are some examples of win-win situation you have encountered?
Yeah, so I think maybe in terms of win-win situations, I think we have worked with many of the partners that a lot of people from outside may look at it as a competitor. Like for example, you can use GrabPay or Boost or Omo to pay within Fave app. So I think a lot of people are like, hey, if you ask the general public, people think that see us as a competitors, but actually we work closely together. Let's say the other things is in Singapore, we work with DBS Paylah and Singtel Dash, where we have Fave Pay within their platform, right? again, there's another situation where people look at it as are these competitors? And I think not. I think we're actually working win-win situations together. And I think the way I look at partnerships a lot of times is that any partnerships eventually it needs to long lasting, and it needs to be able to ensure that both sides see value as you go through. And I think maybe I will change the win-win to a win-win-win-win, for win actually, right? So I think I will start from a merchant win and consumer win. At least in our space, we started from that. First is don't think of which platform we are from or which organization we are from. Which are the win that merchants or consumers can get, right?
True,
And
true,
I think
true.
start from there. And if we can get merchant consumer win, then the platforms are cooperating together, whether it's a 2 parties, there's a 4 win, or whether even a 3, 4 parties, it's a 5, 6 win, right? What can we all get from and contribute and bring out from, right? So I think, and then maybe the way I look at it in collaboration or whatnot is that looking 6 months, 1 year, 2 years down the collaboration, and we look back and say, will we do this collaboration again if we
Yes.
can have the choice? And the answer is yes, then I think we have both sides create value. If one side say, yes, fantastic, I lock the other person up, the other side say, when can I get out of this? Then that is not a win-win, right? So I think that's maybe how I look at it. Yeah.
True, true, true. So, so true. Okay. If you have to choose three highlights from this year work, what will they be and why?
Yeah, so I think for this year's work, I would say that the couple of things. So I think one is definitely, I think, preparing for the acquisition by MyLabs. So I
Yes.
think that basically took us several months. I think gone through due diligence, negotiating the agreements and whatnot, right? So I think that's definitely something that I think the pre-acquisition, I think that's something that we never knew how to go about doing it, right? It's a first time doing it, learning it through how do we deal with all the due diligence auditors and lawyers and whatnot, right? And I
Yeah.
think that we basically built on through that. How do you ensure that all the things are well in order and basically explain the value, explain the details and whatnot. I think that's one bit. And I think the second bit of it is actually the change management as that happened, right? So I think and I think as we Finlabs acquired Fave in April. April is also the time where COVID cases spike up in India, cases started to increase back in Malaysia, and now later on Singapore and whatnot, right? So I think that's another bit of that. So I think that is how do we do the change management for different level of employees, current, and actually even ex-employees, right? Who played an
True.
important part of the journey. How did it ever reconcile and whatnot? We were lucky that we were able to do gatherings before the lockdown, right, in April. So I think just shortly after that, then the lockdown started happening and whatnot. So I think that was one bit of it that we were able to go through. And I think the third one, I think I would say that is now being part of these large organizations. How do we learn to scale? And how
Yes.
do we be able to build up our standards and whatnot, right, to global standards? So I think there's a lot of learning, unlearn, and I think building up on the relevant areas that to get through that. So I think it's still early stage for us to think on how do we build on for that. But I think that's sort of maybe how I look at it. These 3 bits. Yeah.
True, true. Amazing, amazing. Okay. In your own words, how did 2020 change the definition of leadership? What was the biggest change you have observed?
Yeah, I think 2020, I think that's when the toughest time happened, right? I think that if you think of it, even any of the recession that happened previously,
Mhm.
basically recession usually happens like 10, 20, 30% impact. And it happens over 6 months, 1 year, right?
Yes.
People call it recession or even depression, right?
Yes.
But if you look at it, that in 2020, things just move down, move up, and how do people adapt to it? I think like, let's say last year, May, when things were newly open, people don't dare to go out, even though people are allowed to go out. And now people are having sort of the COVID fatigue. And I think that if you look at it at a different scale, whether from a company standpoint, whether in the community, whether in the government, political leaders, community leaders, and whatnot, we see different people step up. And different
Yes.
people that we expect them to step up and couldn't step up, right? And I think different style of leadership and it basically put a spotlight global as well. I think we
True.
started seeing how different people adapt it and at what point we do well, at what point we end up not doing well. So it's not like, let's say, like Malaysia, the first wave of COVID, we actually did it pretty well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I think we handled it very well, very fast, and things went through. And then after that, it became much, much tougher. So I think how do you go through that cycle? And I think that sort of, and I think we also see the peacetime leader and a wartime leadership, right? Which are the leaders that's good at handling at peacetime? Which are the leaders that is good at handling at wartime?
Okay.
Where
Yes.
we don't know 100%. How do you, and it makes it tougher is that back then we can actually gather everyone and explain it things face to face. And during this COVID, we can't. So which adds another layer, right? We have to do it via video, via call, via with poor signal, like and all the technical issues and whatnot, right? So
Yeah.
that adds the complexity significantly as well, right? Because imagine that doing it when we have no restriction is tough.
Yes.
Doing it with all this restriction is even tougher. And I think that enough business where things that work very well, it reset and it rechange. And I think what eventually we're going to see is that in maybe 1 2 years later, hopefully that things are back to normal. When I say normal, it's a no COVID. Everything that the market share and the industry everything will restack up. And I think at that point we look back is that which business have transformed, grown, and more sustainable at that point versus earlier, or which business failed to do that. I think maybe that's something.
Yes, yes, so true. Yeah, true. So, what are the some top workplace trends you see in 2021? Like talk about wartime, peacetime leader. So, in continuation of this only, what are the work trends?
Yeah, so I think one will be that I think that the hybrid office going to happen, right? I think gone are the days where everyone need a seat in the office. Even let's say for us, a couple of weeks ago, we actually returned out of the office, right? Because we
Yes,
have left it empty for a year plus, right? I think when the lease ends, it's like, okay, maybe we don't need that much space. So I think the thing of it, the office space will be more a collaboration space later on. People have learned how to work independently via Zoom, via Microsoft Teams, or whichever tool online at home. And I think the independence and trust, accountability happen. I think the global mobility has also increased where now people can work on things anywhere around the world. Their competitors can come from anywhere around the world,
yes,
right? So I think, and things are shifting. So I think that will be one bit as well. And I think that companies have also learned how to adapt with fewer headcounts, right? Which in the previous world, I think that digitalization takes time, but now it's very normal. I think, like example, for us back then, to get merchants to sign a digital contract, it took us years to get through.
okay.
Now it's 100% digital contract, right? It's not even a question mark, right?
Oh, okay.
And I think that a lot of those things that now different shifting, right? And so I think that that will sort of going to evolve as well. How do you, and I think even how people, the workplace at home. And also I
Yes,
think it adds some complexity for different people with different with kids at home, with different space at home, different affordability as well. So I think there will be shifting. I think talent now, like we're able to now attract talent from around different parts of the world to work through. So I think that is a interesting work, and I think it will continue to evolve.
true, true. So you have talked right now digital, signing. It would have taken more time before. Now it's done in a minute. So due to this work from home, I think productivity of employees also have increased.
I would say yes and no. So I think that they are, if we look at it, if we to us the companies and look at measure it, I think there are companies definitely they have increased, but there are also a lot more companies that also have decreased, right? Where people are not disciplined enough. People now you can't micromanage your employees,
True.
trust and whatnot, right? And there will be people that are responsible that will basically now save the time commuting to office and now work through. But there are also people now who, because of choice or because of not their choice, right? So there are people that who maybe their choice where they choose to slack, take a nap 2 hours and whatnot, right? So there will be people who do that. And I think the other group is people that have no choice where they now have kids at home. They now have to make balancing in that right where childcare may not be available easily and whatnot. So I think that will also be another thing that shift. So I would say that productivity in the longer run, I think is still something to be seen.
Ah, I see, I see. Great, great. Okay, so what are the biggest lesson in 2020 and how your way of seeing the world changed now?
Yeah, so I think that the during the COVID, I think that's where the seeing how the things that you built over years can basically transform over the period of time. I think learning to learn from global, from region, I think collaborations across has transformed. Let's say think of the F&B owners in Malaysia. Previously, people see each other as competitors. Today, people actually see each other as friends, peers, helping one another, right? So I think that that actually adds on, right? So I think that people are a lot more collaborative, caring, and I think that the different bit that people were checking in on each other. How are you doing? People are sending gifts across. Different people have different care on it. And I think that that's sort of how the transformation, and I think the vaccination is now moving on as well, where different people, whether are fortunate enough to get the vaccination, there are different people who are still waiting for it, and how the developed world has now, let's say think of the US, Europe, even China, is now back to life as per normal. Whereas a lot of parts of Asia are struggling. So I think it's how do you balance it? And then whether the rich and poor, they look at 2020 as well. There are a lot of people that life income disrupted, EPF, think of pension funds were withdrawn significantly. Yet there are a small group of people that who actually benefited. I think those people with some spare capital, they invested in the stock market last year and gained a lot more. People who invested in crypto last year gained a lot.
Yes.
Right? So I think that it actually widened the rich and poor. And I think that's sort of the other bits of it. And I think you see the younger people who are more adapt to technology, adapt easier. The more elderly one that will lose their income or job or get a pay cut, that it's much more difficult to adapt. And I think that with the COVID hitting the more elderly as well. So I think it is, and I think of course it's also thought about humanity. I think recently I watched a few of those videos that people shared across where we're talking about healthcare workers, talking about they were in the healthcare room just before they intubated the patients. The patients given a chance to call their family members and hearing them saying sorry to each other, whether the kids saying sorry to their parents for bringing the virus home. And a lot of time that is the last time they can talk about it. And do you go on intubation, which will increase your chance of living, but will means that at that moment you can't talk to anyone anymore. So I think that a lot of those tough moments, I think seeing the world very differently as well.
Yeah. Very good point you have touched. Humanity have increased. So a lot of people, in India also, when we see a lot of people are, suffering from COVID. So the people sitting, around the globe, they are just, helping each other in a way they can help it. So yeah, humanity, I think, is increased in COVID. Yes, that is true.
Yeah, definitely. I think let's say like seeing in the Pine scene where let's say when one of the employee need oxygen and whatnot, I think everyone go all out of their base, middle of the night, contacting all their contacts and try to find the oxygen for them and whatnot. I think that's really going beyond. And I think that the Amrish, our Pine CEO, was sharing that work Pine it's just a work, right? But I think of it is that care about the people in it. Think forget during the tough moments and when people in the tough time. I think just focus on the people's lives and the loved ones, right? That's a super more important. And then I think we can build on. Business will come back, but I think that how do we focus on the right things at that time?
True. Very true. Okay. So I think this question will be close to your heart, which I'm about to ask. It's like, how did you become the co-founder of Fave?
Yeah, so I think thanks so much for the question. Yeah, so I think that for me, I would say I'm a coincident entrepreneur. So I think in that time, early 2015, I actually got a couple of job offers. So I was considering that, and basically I called up Joel and said, hey, I got a couple of job offers. And basically at that time, he was like, he called me back a couple of hours later and said, why don't we start a company together? So I think that was how it went through. I mean, have I been itching before that to start something? Yeah, we sort of tested, we bought a few websites, the domain name, I got a website, wait, a few domain names and whatnot. And I think quitting the jobs and throwing in life savings and getting zero salary at the start was something that's scary. But I think that sort of you only live once, right? So I think you just jump into it. And I think that it's scary, but I think it's something that we sort of go on it and try it. Never know how it will end.
True. It's all about, appreciating your efforts, confidence, you have confidence on your ability, you can do it. So yeah, that's true. Okay. From your current tenure as co-founder of Fave to getting acquired by Pine Labs, what are some of the valuable lessons you have learned?
Yeah, so I think a few things there. I think that we were very lucky. I think one is that I think that the team, right? So I think the how the team has grown, transformed. I think as we got acquired by Pine Labs, I still remember we did a clubhouse session on that night. Several of our early employees were with us for 10 years. Some of them have maybe left in the last 1, 2 years. Some of them are still with us and have grown. Some of them joined us as intern, fresh grad, and they have developed and transformed, and many of them are doing fantastically well out there, right? Some of them are leading listed companies. Some of them are leading departments of the many of the exciting fintech startups in the region. So I think that it's really interesting to see the team grown, transform, and build something amazing. And I think yet still keep friendships and building through. So I think that's maybe one. I think it's the people, right? So I think a lot of them is seeing how well the people have grown, transformed, and built upon. I think the second bit will be that I think that the looking at, I think as going through this, I think the trust of people that supporting us. I think Pine Labs came in investing in us last year during the toughest time, and then eventually they acquired us this year. And I think that the whole process was, I think the Pine Labs leadership team today, we have only seen them on video, right? Actually, we have
Yes.
met their Malaysia leadership team, but we have never actually met their overall group leadership team, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's all video. The whole thing was done virtual, right? And I think
Yeah.
that that sort of put in place into that, right? And I think that the trust that they given us, and also of course the trust that a lot of our early investors, early partners, supporters, platforms that believe in us and went on through this journey. I think that people that cheers from everywhere, and I think that sort of give us a chance to go through that. So I think that's the sort of that, and I think whether from the merchants, consumers, I think a lot of the trial error and tweaking through, and I think that's sort of some of the bit, and I think a lot of it lessons as we learn through is at different stage we need to do different things. So everyone play at different playground. So there's a lot learn, but there's also a lot more important, a lot of unlearn and
Yes.
relearn.
True, true, true. Okay, so last, what advice would you give to new entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I think a lot of time is that really great that you're thinking about you're going into startups or building your own venture entrepreneurship, right? So I think one is I think ask yourself why. What is a strong why in you that you want to do this, right? I think all of us have different reason and whatnot, but I think it's thinking of your why because this journey, startup journey is going to be super difficult.
True.
There's going to be, it's not that if you want a lot of glamorous job, there's a lot out there. You want a lot of money, there's a lot of job out there. You want a lot of other things, there's a lot of things out there that you could get and do. But I think the startup journey is uh, full of ups and downs. And I think that one thing that you look forward to is enjoy the ups and downs. Enjoy the journey.
True.
Don't enjoy the destination alone. And if you think that you're going to have a lot of time doing startups, you're going to have less times. And I think it's also be mentally prepared for it. I think a lot of times the startup fail is because we give up right along the journey. And I think that there will be a lot of sacrifice, not just from you, but from all the people around you, your family, your loved ones, right? That your friends, because you're going to have a lot less time. You're going to be a lot more stressed. You're going to be a lot more time where you are there, but physically there, but you're mentally not there.
True.
There'll be a lot of moments that will bring stress back home, back to every other moment. You're going to be a lot of moments where you have to do last minute cancellation. And you have to do a lot of those bits where you will get no pay for quite a long period of time. Your lifestyle shift and whatnot, right? So I think there's a lot of that. But I think what those are maybe some of the things that be ready for. And of course, what you gain is in the experience. You basically nothing is too scary for you. You basically go on it. The buck stops at you. If the company go through all kinds of things, you learn from it. You try it, and what doesn't work, you try again. You learn from different people and talk to different people. Always on your radar, connect the dots, and pick up. So I think that's some of the things that you want to continuously doing. I think one thing is maybe you should love solving problems.
True.
If you want a peaceful, straightforward life, then entrepreneurship is likely not for you. You want to take calculated risks, but there will be risks. There will be super tough times. There will be things that is completely outside of your control, outside influence, and just hit you. And you have to make those tough calls. And likelihood you don't have a past precedent and say what is the right decision. How do you going to be able to do it? And I think that's where, and I think do it with the trusted people that you go through together. And I think as you build on that journey, as you get through more successful, don't forget the people who were with you in the early journey, especially who go through the ups and downs with you, and celebrate the little wins, and don't forget the big picture, bigger goals that you try to get to. And I think eventually, at the right point, find better people than you to lead the thing, right? Whether at the department level, whether at company level. I think make yourself dispensable, and I think it's continue to build and grow. And I think that, yeah, reach out for help, whether technical help, whether mental, emotional support help, whether inspiration help and whatnot. I think there'll be people out there from support group and go out there. I think that you can do it. And I think what's worst case? Worst case, you just haven't succeeded. And I think at any point, it's a learning journey and enjoy the ride.
True, true. I think a lot of entrepreneurs who will be listening you, they might have got a lot of motivation, a lot of learnings from your this. The best part you have for entrepreneurs out there, you have highlighted is solving problem, because a lot of new entrepreneurs, they come, they see, oh my God, this not happening, not happening, so they just quit. They just quit. So yeah, so enjoying up and downs is a main take for entrepreneurs. Yeah. So, Chencho, it was, lovely talking to you today. And my full paper, you might have noticed I was making points, I have a lot of learning from you today. My full paper is, just filled up with all the points which I have learned from you today, from your life journey, from corporate, you have shifted to your own, to co-founder, and then acquisition by Pine Labs, and also, a lot of adaptation, we have learned like there are two types of leaders, peace leader, war leader. So yeah, so after talking to you, what I feel is you're like a positive person. You give a lot of importance to your people, who are trusting you. So that's why people trust you. All you have mentioned, all collaboration happen, only on video calls, technology. You have never met them because it's you, a lot of trust you give to your people. So it was lovely talking to you today, Chenchoy.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kamal. I really, really appreciate that, your kind words. And I think that you yourself is a lot more positivity than me. I think that really appreciate that. And I think that, yeah,
Thank you so much. It was lovely meeting you.
same here. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.